Hello guys, my name is Amit Sani and I welcome you on this daily Hindu video in the morning. These videos come in the evening. The MCQ lessons they are coming and 30th of September, last day of September, and these editorials, their discussions, their analysis and their deep understanding, all the angles are extremely important because UPSC in its syllabus says nationally and internationally important issues, and those are all reflected in the editorials section. So not even a single topic you can say that is not nationally or internationally important there. So the important context you will find here, and it's important. Let's start the newspaper, and Pocket News app is running on Google Play. You can download that. Regarding these courses, the descriptions are given below the video. You can call on these numbers, and the chat section is available here, and the PDF you will get here on this Facebook group, and you will also find the Telegram channel's link here. You can follow me on Instagram too. And first article important for GS paper 1, 2, 3. You may say all these three will be relevant here. Why? Because the UN summit recently concluded. As usual, our stand was again focusing on the welfare issue, catalogued on developmental schemes that we proposed, and we talked about unity of humanity, and we explained our diversity issues, and we focused on India's ongoing image there, and we tried to boast a lot there. But you see, this time there were some problematic issues, like the speech by the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. That was something very controversial, and that usually doesn't happen with India internationally. And the way he loathed and the way he thrashed the Indian government and dragged in UN in his manipulative way and totally in an unjustified way, Mr. Imran Khan tried to give this issue a religious angle, and that thing is totally unacceptable. So what he does, that thing is not in our control. What he says, these things are not in our control, and we all know what Pakistan is. The whole world knows what Pakistan is and what they can do, what they are capable of. But issue is that domestic issues in this country, in our country, these are more or less concerning. The kind of social fabric and its declining strength today, these concerns are relevant always to our image globally, because India is that kind of a country which always have talked about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We have given Gandhi, we have given Buddha to this world, as Prime Minister said this. And again, as international leaders were citing the role of Nehru and Gandhi, and all these things happened. So again we said this thing, and we reminded this thing to the world, that what India is, and what Gandhi's vision was, and how he is always relevant, not only for this country, always for this world. So when you talk about a peace icon like Gandhi, then things are more or less summarized about our country's image. That's the issue. But domestically, if we talk about Gandhi and Nehru, what is the reality? That is something the writer is putting emphasis on. Here he says that this is really great that India has achieved a lot in housing sector, sanitation sector, healthcare, banking, education, and present government should be given this credit for bringing these revolutions in the Swachh Bharat area, this Abhiyan and those movements, healthcare movements, Ayushman Bharat and all. So these all things are incredible. But by the side of these things, there are serious problems which have occurred in this society, where deep fissures are visible, and these are not visible to not only intellectuals of this country, because in this country, secularist and intellectual people, they are a kind of a piece to mock and they are jogged in all the senses, and being secularist and being rational in this country has become a kind of abuse. So we cannot say the trolling environment of this country, but certainly the problems which India has today, these things are visible globally too, because as the diaspora of India that lives abroad, and they popularize the image of this country, they tell the world that what India is and what it stands for, and this is our diverse culture that we propose there everywhere, and we are a unique kind of civilization. We all know about that, but there are people who belong to India and who feel very very uncomfortable with the ongoing situation, the social situation in this country, the political situation in this country, the kind of troll environment which is there, mob lynching and cow vigilantism issues, law and order problems, the rape culture, all these issues are really problematic for these people. And for sure some things are so apparent that those are unprecedented, the kind of mob lynching issues and the kind of dealing of those mob lynching issues and the kind of support by the Indian public to these culprits which is given, that is seen by the people. So that is why for the first time in this history there are a lot of divisions in the people's support internationally too. People are protesting heavily against some management of the issue by Indian government, and some are hailing it in a great way. So in a casual way, in a normal way, these things are going okay, but for the first time the kind of dragging we have seen for India in UN, and how Pakistan found it so easy to drag India in this way, in this manipulative way, in this unjustified way, and how they found a very good chance to talk about our leadership and this whole ruling class in this country. That was really unfortunate, because we cannot say that 100% these things are not there. Means some issues are certainly there. These are kind of a black spot on our social fabric, and the unity you cannot say that it is intact between Hindus and Muslims and the Dalits and other higher caste groups. The feudalistic mindsets, they are becoming stronger in some senses, and the kind of support we have shown to some criminals, you may say, who have become politicians, and so who are wielding some posts, and a kind of a garlanding which was there of the mob lynchers and all. So these kind of things that we are observing, these were never the image of this country, and that is why you cannot say that all issues are internal issues and global concerns are totally different. There we will boast a lot about the Indian culture, India's values, and the way we give importance to the nature, and our social diversity issues, our unity issues, and Buddha, Gandhi. We talk a lot about them internationally, but domestically some things are not congruous to those ideals. Things are at odds, and that will be a kind of a hypocrisy in that sense. So that cannot work. We have to bring all these things together, and we cannot stay isolated internationally from our domestic issues, because things are visible today. We are not living in a medieval times that whatever is happening locally is not visible to the global stage. That is not the case. So that is why we have to give answer to many of the situations, and the management that is there, that must be robust, and we must have proper solutions, and the social diversity and the social fabric which has been there in this country, that must be intact in the future. Because the kind of developments we see today, and the kind of suppression we see of writers, intellectuals, and some people who believe in secularism, and all those notions which are distorted, means the meaning of being secularist is also distorted. The meaning of being intellectual is totally distorted. The meaning of being a rational person is also distorted. Means you cannot say that they are opposing rational people. They are opposing because they do not understand what rational is. They do not understand what intellectual is. They do not understand the meaning what a secular person is. We all have a need to become intellectual, to become secular, to become these people, but the notions are distorted, and they are used, these distortions are used politically, and that is why these are excellent points for your mains answer writing. Means how the distortions are used in politics, and the way we have become opposed to the very brilliant terms there. And you can start writing with the topic of being intellectual. Being intellectual, is it a problem or is it a need there? It's a dire need, and especially we are going through an intellectual crisis. So that is the biggest crisis, and the main culprit is the media, because the naive populations, crores of people are there. They are dependent on the information given by these media houses, who have become the highest level of propagandist and anybody can have a clue about their daily titles, subtitles, and the kind of provoking statements, emotional statements they make, and the kind of debates we see, the kind of jokes we see in the name of debates. So these things are visible. So these are the biggest culprits. So that's why these all domestic concerning issues are connected to the international image of India, and that is changing. We are becoming more and more aggressive. That is accepted by all of the observers. Many reports we have seen, and now in addition to all these suspicions, in addition to all these allegations on Indian government, the issue of Kashmir, that has become so controversial, because this has become very confusing now, because we do not have a proper plan, and if we have, then on the surface, in the public domain, not many things are apparently clear, that what we are going to do, how much time is there that we need, and we are making announcements, but those are not also preemptive, and the kind of unilateral action that we have seen, and the kind of consequence that is accepted, expected, or not expected, we do not know much about that. There is a certain degree of confusion over the Kashmir issue, and now some allegations are surfacing that have we taken a best decision, or there could have been a better one. So when these kind of things are there, then certainly the human rights issues are additionally giving fuel to the fire. Means we know things are in our control and what we have decided about the situation, but UN is also a kind of a distant stakeholder there in the issue, and maybe it is not there in the present, but in the past it has been there. And how Pakistani Prime Minister has dragged us and given many manipulative angles to this problem, and that's why we need a better stand there, we need a better response there, we need a better management of issues domestically. And the Kashmir issue must be upholding the universal rights issue, and maybe it doesn't matter what masses are saying, but the judgment regarding the issue, that must come according to the human values and the best management possible there. Today the kind of problems were cited by the Pakistani Prime Minister there, those are not true, but because the confusion remains, some things become suspicious, and these things are hitting the ongoing image of this country. And already, as I gave you the example of Mr. Godse and Gandhi, the kind of glorification of Godse we have seen, can we say this the same thing on the international platform? Can we say that the kind of propaganda is there against Gandhi in India, the kind of abuses are there even in the mainstream media regarding Nehru and Gandhi? Can we announce those things internationally? We do not have any other icon than Gandhi internationally, and we are actually today bound to popularize Gandhi if we want to popularize our peaceful image, but that is declining. That's why we are more bound to propose Gandhi there. And domestically, people are putting guns on the effigies of Mr. Gandhi, and the kind of propaganda we have seen on almost all these committed media houses who are glorifying the government's every move. So there is a drastic problem going on with our nation, and that is the ideological problem. And actually, ideological problems can be discussed easily, but that discussion is also suppressed and distorted by the media houses. So ultimately, the second article talks about the media's role and the true journalism, and how it's a critical time and how they need to make that trustful image again. Otherwise, we are certainly going towards a disaster. Already the social problems are amounting, and many experts have said that this way, if this thing will go on, then we may face a social crisis very soon. And now additionally, economic crisis is also on our doorsteps. So these all things collectively are going in a very different direction what we were trying to advertise some years back during elections. So some things are really problematic. The kind of good days we were promising there, things are totally different. And social, economic, political, all the grounds are having suspicions there. So that is why domestic issues we must manage properly. Otherwise, these things will impact the international image of this country, because people know about situations. There are video evidences today. If somebody would go behind the Unnao girls rape case and the Chinmay Anand's case, then video evidences are available there. And here the victims are the girls. Who will accept this thing? Already there is an image of rape culture, and we have evidences. We are showing all the things there, and the kind of drama we have seen in the Now case, how the whole family was devastated, they were killed, and only the girl is surviving there. So these things hardly need any evidence to act upon and against these powerful people. But at this sensitive time, we are deciding some things in this way. The law and order situation is seriously critical, and we popularize in media that we are the best managers there, and we are giving the best law and order situation to the state or a country. So these kind of claims will not hold the water, and that is why these things are visible, and they are collectively giving an aggressive and a foolish image of this country, and they are not telling great about the Indian populations there. People in other countries, the diaspora which is there, they are living in different conditions under different rules, but the problems have become unique about this country. The kind of complexities are arising in our society, in domestically especially, those are really problematic. And now things are connected, and these all things are having a common element, that is divisiveness, that is in a way blind support, that has a mass involvement there. Even in the most sensitive issues, we are involving more and more people. What is the need of involving the public on the Kashmir issue? What do they know about that? I do not understand that. But more than the experts' opinion, people's opinion matter here, and that is why this issue has become so political, and just the need of the votes is being fulfilled. No other parameter is fulfilled here. So that's why it's a huge problem. So government has to be very serious about the domestic situation. Otherwise, we may be dragged further like we were dragged 2 days back. Although we have given a best reply there, and we all know what Pakistan is, other countries also know what Pakistan is, but on our image there should not be any dark spot there. So that's something is important about this article, and I have explained a gist of 3 articles today in this important discussion here. Next, trust deficit. This is a economic issue. The ongoing issue of Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank, that is involved certainly in a huge trust deficit for the poorest public there, because cooperative banks, they bring a lot of attractive schemes, and mainly the consumers are the poor sections of the society. Cooperative banks, they are there in many backward areas also, and the issue with the cooperative banks, that is going on for many years. It is not only the Punjab and Maharashtra bank, it is there with almost all the cooperative banks across the country. Now this bank is one of the largest urban cooperative banks. It has presence in Delhi, Goa, Gujarat and Karnataka too, and the distress is widespread there. The poor populations are too much in number in Mumbai and other areas there, so they have trusted. And you see, this is not their mistake. Governments, they have run these campaigns, Jandan accounts and everything, means you are bound to open these accounts in the banks, whoever banks are available there, and the most accessible ones will be getting all these accounts there. Now if you suddenly, and without being a preempted decision, without notifying the people, and suddenly if you say that there is going to be a ban there and you cannot withdraw that much money. First it was a very drastic move where only 1000 rupees were allowed, now 10,000 rupees are allowed, but now the season of marriages that is going to come, so it has become a controversial issue. And when these people, the poorest people, when they trust the governments, they trust a lot, their support is blind there. Now if they are suffering, then there can be a huge trust deficit, not on the government but basically on the banking sector, and that's really troubling. So banks have many types of aggression towards them, and in all the sections of the society, the poorest people always troubling, always standing in the lines and all, and the services are hardly enjoyed by these poorest people. And the middle class of this country, that is also complaining about the banks, and some sections which are elite sections and the most richest, most powerful, richest people, they see the banking sector in a different way, you may say, because they expect something different, something huge, and they can be the biggest customers. Their banks earn from their repayments of the loans, but if these are not going properly, then NPAs are a major disasters on these banks, where banks wanted to give loans to these big entrepreneurs and the business houses and the richest people, but when they fail, then these are the biggest blows to the banking sector. But the concerns regarding the weakest people, those will do nothing, but the trust deficit will be there, and the kind of involvement of Housing Development and Infrastructure Limited is surfacing in this issue. That is also really problematic, and again it will oppose that image that they are biased, they give loans to some particular businesses, sectors, and political pressures are there, things are controversial, all rules are shown to the normal public, and for giants there are no rules, and things always are secretive and confusing, and all transparency is expected from the common people. So this is how, from a very important sector, the economic sector, the banking sector, these trust deficits are not good. So this is something about this article. Many more articles will come on this issue, because we have to see the kind of challenge that is amounting collectively on the Indian economy. Many articles we will see in upcoming month. So it is important for GS paper 2 mainly, and 3, because the economy sector is covered in the paper 3 there. You must have seen all the GS main papers, and the kind of answer writing you need. For that, the most important thing is the mature discussion and the angles of the issue there. You make your own original answers out of that, and this is how you write the most summarized answer there. There is a kind of a myth in the students that some kind of a different answer writing will be there, some kind of different points, some kind of different phrases will be used, and there is something as a unique way of UPSC answer writing. There is nothing like that. Just the better understanding is the key for the best answers in the main stage. You know better, you write more summarized answer, more straight answer in simplest lines there. and you will be amazed to see the answer sheets of the toppers there. You will not see any difference in those answer sheets and any 8th, 9th, 10th school student. The kind of simple writing that they do, the same is there with the UPSC students. But this is all the matter of understanding the matter and having all the angles in your mind. So this is how these issues are relevant. So always connect these things to the basics, like the weakest sections and the ongoing issues, social fabric, economic basics, concerns regarding the banking. All these things, they are connected always to the issues. How the impact is happening, how these things are connected, and how the future of some sector will be affected, and the kind of handling of the issue. Is it proper or not? Is it having some negative consequences, or it will be the better one? So these things are important for means. Next article, these two articles, you see, we have discussed a lot on Kashmir issue, so we will not waste our time again, because again these things are repeating in some sense. So go through that once and you will be clear about it. Next article, the issue of Ayodhya is extremely political and religious. So things are not much important for us, I tell you really, because UPSC has not asked any direct question on any kind of these any kind of issues like that. But the implications on the society, the implications of the issues which are related to masses, the kind of importance spirituality and faith has on the society, how the management and the administration is assisted or maybe hindered by that issue. All these are consequences and observations. So these things will come later in the month of October, because this issue is not settled yet. This is a kind of a hopeful article and by Fazlur Rahman, where he talks in a very idealistic manner that this is the best time in this matter, where both parties have expressed faith in mediation. So the emphasis must be on healing minds and hearts. But we all know about these things. But who will make those people understand who are fueled by these political fires? And certainly the kind of politics which is involved in this matter, that is blocking this particular issue to be resolved very soon. Otherwise anything can be solved with the help of debate and discussion, but the politics which is involved there, that has some different intention, and that's why a very important issue is stuck for years now, and we have to wait for that. So we will not waste our time on this. Next two articles are extremely important, but the discussion and the explanation I have done for this article, the role of media there, only we will say that Paneer Selvan consistently writing about these issues, and he now giving example for other countries, like in 26 countries computational propagandas are going on with the help of social media, trollers and the mainstream media, and 3 ways they are adopting to suppress fundamental human rights, as we have seen in many countries. Discredit political opponents means make an image of the opposition parties and opposition leaders like that all will laugh when they will open their mouth, and they will take nothing seriously whatever is coming out of opposition's mouth. Create that kind of image and advertise things in a way. So that is the best way by the media and the journalists, both in print and the media. Third, drown out dissenting opinions. The kind of a situation of intellectuals, think tanks in this country we have seen, the kind of suppression we have seen, and the kind of labeling we have seen in this country for those people. This is a classic example of how you drown out the dissenting opinion there. Always with some controversial decision, questions will be raised, and who will raise the question? The people who know, the people who read the basics there and who analyze the situation, they will raise many questions, because if some things should go in a better way, they know that better way, because governments are not no experts, they take the help of experts. But if the experts are raising questions, then governments have to answer them. But there are no answers in this country. There are labeling on these dissenting opinion having people. So that's why these 3 things are apparently clear in our country too, and we know what kind of parties are there in this world, in this country especially, and how big saints are these political people. That doesn't matter they belong to opposition or they belong to ruling party, all behave in a similar way. They all need political existence, and for that they can do anything. This appears to be like that, and there is no doubt about that. But still, the kind of hounding we see for the opposition leaders or maybe the dissenters, and the kind of labeling that we see, that is really problematic, because we know both are more or less same, but there is an important issue of check and balance. There is an issue of accountability. The questions will be asked on legitimate grounds always. The party which is there in the opposition, that will behave in a very idealistic way. They will point out all the troubles that are being made by the ruling government, and that's why it's important that there is a opposition in a democracy always. If the opposition is crushed, then that is the biggest danger for the democracy. So here you need to understand, we are discussing these issues because it is not important that who is the opposition. It is important that there is an opposition. That is the need here, and that issue is relevant here, and how they are crushing all the opponents there, this is really problematic. So these examples are set in all the countries, and mainly the media, that is the real culprit here, and they are running propagandas. They are on this campaign of mass manipulations of the minds. Every day they are doing so hard work to polarize people, divide people, giving them new angles of thinking, so that they can be suspicious about the neighbor there, so they can be suspicious about people from other religion, people from other communities, people from other caste. So these kind of propagandas are running, and they are all apparent. There are no hidden propagandas. The way they are behaving today, the way they are giving these titles today, this is all apparently happening. That's why it's a very dangerous time, a very critical time, and that's why Pani Selvan says that Arthur Miller had said in the past, a good newspaper, I suppose, is a nation talking to itself. But in India, you see, all new angles, unprecedented angles of thinking are being popularized. There are so-called theorists and analysts are coming, who are giving new and new angles to these people, and they are a danger for the social fabric. They always talk about the revenge, they always talk about the fear, they always talk about the hidden powers of a particular community, and this is how it doesn't look like the media and the newspapers today in India. They are something like a nation talking to itself. It's like a one-way communication, and it is something that is being served to the people. There is no discussion with the people. There are no ideal debates on the news media houses. These are something like opinions are served, and they are justified, and they are advertised in a way that they manipulate the minds. They block people's thinking power. They block people's analytic power, and they are just giving them opinions that you believe us. This is something like they demand blind support there, and that is why they are trying to make people emotional, because emotional person is blind person, and that is the issue. So this is the time when it is the ultimate responsibility of those journalists who have to hail this community's standards, and if that phase will not come where some true information is available, then whole world is doomed, because misinformation can destroy this world. Because a phase will come where people will not believe will not believe anyone, and today they may believe these emotional propagandists, but tomorrow when the truth will prevail, then they will lose all the hopes, and they will think that nobody talks true in this world, and then the phase of chaos will be there, and some symptoms are there today. So that's why it's a very important issue. Next article, the article of the day: two Asian powers and an island, Sri Lanka. I have given you a question here also, and here, as 2-3 days back, we discussed the political situation of Sri Lanka. After 2 months, there are elections there, and after 2 months, they will elect a new president there, and that is very important in Sri Lankan politics. The executive system is going on, and how we will deal with that new leader, that's important. Those aspirations are important. So before that, we have to discuss some background there. Who is behind Sri Lanka? India and China both. If we compare the situation with India and China, then China has sustained all those allegations too, where the issue of debt trap came, and it started with Sri Lanka only. That China has invested a lot, and it has helped a lot, and intentionally it has given so much money that now it has trapped Sri Lanka in its debt, and they are trying to manipulate their political authorities, they are trying to manipulate their systematic authorities, and because it's the issue of that debt trap that they are trying to dominate there, and this is how they are targeting a neighbor of India. So some things were true, some things were confusing, some things were not true, but even that phase China has sustained, and the relations are improving ultimately with China. But with India, things are still controversial. We have seen very troubling past, and our relations have always not been the best, and many phases were there. But where we talk about Chinese investment and the activity there, then it is ironical that much of the project's execution took place under a regime which came into office at the time when there was a strong anti-Chinese mood. Means this thing is always said about the India's neighbors, that they would prefer India if India would make that kind of investment there, and if India would not try to dominate the geopolitics there, then they will always prefer India, because the cultural ties are very, very important. There are huge inclinations, and the people's connection, they are strong. They will not need China there, but India does not manage issues very, very well always. And the follow-up of all these proposals, the kind of investments, the capacities that we show, these things are weak in comparison to China there. So that is the reason that when the anti-Chinese regimes were there, even in that phase, China's activity was too much in Sri Lanka. Their investments were blooming there. Now, Sirisena, the president, came when we had this opinion that it would be beneficial for India, but we could not do much about the issues. Even Vikram Singhe, he came on visit to India, and we asked some questions. Mr. Modi ji asked that why there is slow progress on Indian proposals, and whatever we have pledged to invest and whatever we have invested, why the projects are not going with their speeds. But confusing answers were there, and no apparent reasons were cited there. So that shows that Indian influence is not much there on the leadership. So that's why it's a changing phase. We have to see what kind of government will come there, what kind of person will be chosen for the job. That would be important. And some things are evidently clear, that Chinese company took the lease of Mendota port, which was first given to India as a proposal, but India only looked Mendota port from the economic angle, and that was the biggest mistake, because the strategic angle was way more important. But we ignored strategic angle, and we saw only economic angle there, and we lost this proposal. And now China has won this opportunity. It had its eye on it, and it knew that what kind of strategic importance it will be, but we were not far sighted there. And here Sri Lanka is a member of Belt and Road Initiative too, means too much influence we see of China here. But we blamed this issue on the debt trap issue, but it is not always the truth, because the relations are improving ultimately. The imports are nearly equal. Imports were huge with India. Sri Lanka was importing a lot from India, but now Chinese imports, they are also equal there. So China has gained a lot here, and that is the situation where we have deep connections, cultural connections, thousands of years of history, and everything, the Tamil politics, everything is there for India. All the points are there where we can be stronger. But instead of that, a foreign power, the Chinese, they are dominating the scene. That's a problem. Whatever we proposed, like in the Kaken Sathurai harbor in the eastern region, northern province, we said that we will renovate that. $45 million we pledged there, but the status is unknown. What's happening, what's the progress there? For the Palali airport in north, where commercial flights were expected, there is also a little progress. and that region is very important. Sri Lanka's northern part is very important for us because of the Tamilian connection there. It's very important there, but the progress is not much. And here we see in 60,000 homes we built for Tamils in the northern region. Ambulance services we pledged. We said that $91 million we will invest there for the railway segment there, which will connect north to south. All these things were there, but these were not huge things. Mendota was a huge thing, and that was strategically extremely important. These are way simpler some things, and we cannot remain satisfied with those issues. This is something writer wants to say. He said that we have expressed our concern over delays, and like the example of Trikonmali oil storage facility, the progress is very, very slow, and it is going on for years now. So it shows that the influence we have not been able to create there on Sri Lankan minds, and that's really important. Some things are in our favor, like the 300 million housing project was awarded to India instead of China. So some things are happening, some things are good, some things are progressive, but those are not up to those expectations. So that is why the regions are problematic. China funded infrastructure projects in Sri Lanka may look great, but India-Sri Lanka ties are deeper and more complex. And in the past, as we saw the anti-Tamil pogrom of Sri Lanka, and in 1883 we were dragged into Sri Lankan Tamil question. Before that, this issue was not that much huge, but it became so huge that Rajiv Gandhi's assassination that happened on the same issue. And before that, Gandhi Jayawardene Accord happened in 1987, and the issue of a 13th amendment in the Sri Lankan constitution that talks about the power devolution to the provinces there, and especially in the northern province where the Indian connections are very strong, because the issue of Tamilians are way more important in the northern region. So those issues were very important, but because the ethnic question is not solved yet, and again some problems are rising there. The terrorism issues are also rising, because these are new phenomena. This is a kind of a different kind of a social blackmailing, governments blackmailing by these terrorist groups. So these are also appearing there, and now elections are due. So things are more a mess. Now what is the solution? What we need to do there? First of all, we have to wait and watch what happens, what kind of people will be there, and some assumptions we have, like the Gotabaya, that the strongman's image which we discussed 2-3 days back, and a second person is the Premadasa there. So who will be selected, we have to see. And certainly we are willing to walk the extra mile, and we have to walk, and we have to take these things very seriously now. We have to focus for quite some time there, because many times we have observed that we do not focus much on the issue. Like in the Chabhar case, what is the status today? Nobody discusses that. So we have to keep discussing these issues. Big countries, the developed countries, they always keep their issues alive. They do not ignore them. So we have to keep things alive, and we have to keep solving them time to time. Otherwise, other countries will certainly invade our influence area, like the Chinese have done with many countries. Okay, so the issue of Tamils especially, and the 95,000 refugees who are living in Tamil Nadu, who came from Sri Lanka, they must go back, and that should be very peaceful. So for all these discussions, we will need a better condition there in our relations. So that's why these can be the solutions, but right now we have to see who will be selected there. So this is all today. We will meet again tomorrow, and in the evening lesson we will discuss the facts. Thanks a lot. Keep watching to